Welcome back, everyone. We hope that your first breakout session was helpful, encouraging, and gave you some practical ideas to carry back to your ministry right away. We've still got a great rest of the day ahead, so let me give you a quick look at what's coming up next. We're heading into our main session number 2, where you'll hear from our next keynote speaker, Jason Young. And then after that, we'll have a special interview with our very own Kira Brown to hear about some exciting new technology.
I'm excited about this because then we're going to move into our final round of breakout sessions before coming back together one last time to close out the day with some prizes, some free resources, and a few surprises.
That's right. And I know we've mentioned this a couple of times, but if you happen to be joining us for the first time today, everything we're doing is being recorded. So you will have access to breakout sessions and main session keynote speeches later, even today or tomorrow. Very quickly, we'll get those to you as soon as possible.
I know that we've talked a lot today about ministry brands and how much we care about the churches that we serve. Recently, I had the chance to sit down with some of our leadership team, Brandon Sherritt, to talk a little more about the heart behind of what we do and why serving churches so well really matters to us. And so before we jump into our next keynote, take a quick moment and check out this video.
Well, it is always a privilege to chat with some of our leadership here at Ministry Brands, and today I'm thrilled to spend a few moments talking with Brandon Sherritt, who oversees our growth, partnerships, and helping churches to connect with the right solutions. Thank you so much for taking time to talk with me today, Mr. Sherritt.
Great to be with you, Kendall, as always. Looking forward to our chat today.
To kind of kick things off, I'd love to ask you, at the heart of everything that we do, what is it that drives Ministry Brands' goals for serving these churches and these ministry leaders out there?
Great question, Kendall. And I'm proud to say that Ministry Brands serves nearly 90,000, faith-based organizations throughout the U.S. And we've been doing that for, about 30 years as well, Kendall. So we have a long history of really serving this market. I think one of the things that compels me and our leadership team the most is just how important, faith-based organizations are to really serving the needs-based economy here in the U.S. Nearly $600 billion is donated annually through nonprofits throughout the U.S. What folks might not be aware of is just the magnitude, if you will, of giving that is specific to churches and those faith-based organizations. Nearly 50% of that $600 billion is donated through the organizations that we serve. It also represents only about 50% of what is needed to support the needs-based economy here in the U.S. So, there's a huge dependency on faith-based organizations to provide many of the basic services that those folks that are most in need. Things such as shelter and food and medicine and some, the basic necessities that, many of us somewhat take for granted that are critically important and supported by our organization. It's a pretty big driver when you think about the responsibility of the technology, the solutions that we're providing that ultimately help the churches serve, those most in need within their communities and outside the U.S. as well.
Wow, that's so meaningful. And, just to be able to play a small part in the good that these organizations and churches and all of them are doing, it's pretty incredible. I know that there's going to be leaders who are attending the Healthy Church Summit, people who are watching this. What would you say is your hope for them over the course of this event that we're putting on?
Well, Kendall, I think we all should be encouraged by what we're seeing, throughout the country with this sort of resurgence, if you will, especially of younger people wanting to be a part of our faith-based communities and really looking to the church, right? As a beacon of strength, of hope, of encouragement, for younger folks to really lean into, I think, some of the values that they're really looking for as young adults. And I think that should be very encouraging for all of our organizations that we serve. Secondarily, I think the level of, investment that we are undertaking, if you will, to really provide innovative technology that ultimately helps better run the church and, most importantly, serve the members of the church, which I think is highly encouraging. And then thirdly, that we're here for them. We're here to be a partner to these organizations. We want to be a collaborative partner in really understanding, the individual mission and charter for each of our churches to really to better serve and support the outcomes that they're really trying to achieve within the communities that they're serving on a day-to-day basis.
That's so good, and I echo your heart for these leaders. I hope that that they'll walk away from this feeling even more strengthened with even more passion to keep going on what they're doing. For all of them who are watching this today, if you could leave them with one word of encouragement as they head back to their day-to-day ministry, what would that be?
Kendall, I think we have to continually remind ourselves that what we do each and every day is absolutely making a difference. This isn't easy. This is hard work, but what we are doing is truly making an impact, and we should continue to focus on the impact that we are achieving. We need to continue to spread that word, if you will. I think it provides a lot of encouragement and reinforcement. And I think, communication is such an important part of what we're doing. And that continual reinforcement, I think, will only grow the church. It will grow the volunteerism within a church to really want to be a part of this ecosystem of good. And we really look forward to continuing this journey in partnership with our churches and our faith-based organizations.
Man, that is incredible. Again, I just want to thank you for taking a moment to connect with me today. I know that it means a lot to the people who are watching at home.
Kendall, thank you so much as well. And thank you to all of our attendees at this Healthy Church Summit. We can't thank you enough for your partnership, and we look forward to continuing into the future. So thank you very much.
Well, that was awesome. We're so grateful to be part of serving churches in that way. And I love being reminded that behind every tool, every resource, and every conversation is a real heart to serve ministries.
Absolutely. And really, that connects so well to where we're headed next, because if we want to lead for the long haul, we have to not only think about our own health, but also the kind of culture that we're building for the people serving alongside us. That's why I'm excited to welcome our next keynote speaker, Dr. Jason Young. If you haven't connected with him before, let me tell you all about him. Jason is a leadership consultant. He's an executive coach. He's a speaker, a professor, and an author who spent more than 25 years helping organizations, helping churches to build those thriving people-first cultures. He served on church staffs at places like LifePoint Church and North Point Ministries. And he's also partnered with incredible organizations like Chick-fil-A and Delta Airlines, Google, the Global Leadership Summit, all these things helping leaders strengthen their team culture, improve engagement, and reducing burnout. We've talked about that today,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
He's a best-selling author. I've got so many of his books over on the shelf somewhere. I love that we get to talk through some of these things and hear from him today. He's known for bringing some of those practical teachings, and so I can't wait to hear from him. It's going to be fun.
So without further ado, everyone watching at home, drop some love in the chat and give it up for Jason Young.
A while back, I sat across from a pastor, and he said something I've never forgotten. He says, Jason, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And I started thinking in my head, like, what exactly is he talking about? He wasn't talking about his church. He wasn't even talking about his role. He was actually talking about ministry in general. But here's what struck me. He was talking about how he had love and passion for the Lord. He was even talking about the passion that he had for people, but he was stuck because he wasn't sure that he could keep going. I find a lot of leaders that echo that same feeling, and maybe that's you. If we're honest, I think that happens more times than it doesn't. When I was researching burnout in church leaders, I kept hearing this story over and over and over again. And this is what people said. I'm emotionally exhausted. I have decision fatigue, and I find my capacity shrinking. I'm exhausted emotionally. I really can't make clear and great decisions. And quite frankly, the capacity that I used to have, I don't have. You say, well, is there any good news in that? Well, here's what else stood out. There were some leaders that said they were exhausted, but on the flip side, there were some leaders that were really, really energized. There were some churches that I would hear that they keep losing people. But then I heard about other churches who kept growing leaders, and growing leaders. I was trying to listen and read between the lines, and here's what I discovered. The difference in those stories, it didn't come down to the mission. All of them had a mission. For many of them, the mission was really, really clear, but what it came down to, the difference, was how they tended to the fire inside of them and the fire in which they were leading inside their church, their ministry. Here's what I wrote down. After all of these interviews, after all of the research, after 200-something pages of writing, of which most people will not read, here's what I learned. We often think about burnout as something leaders need to survive. In fact, when I was in seminary years ago, I remember being taught, even with mentors, that if you got to the place of burnout, that was a badge of honor because that means you gave everything to God. The older I've gotten and the more people I've seen burn out, the more I've realized it doesn't have to be part of who we are. It's not something we have to do. It's not a badge of honor. In fact, we don't have to actually be there to begin with. What if burnout isn't something to survive? Let me give you another way to look at it. What if it's something we can design against? So instead of saying, well, burnout's inevitable, it's just going to be this thing, I'm just kind of waiting for it, right? It's like it shows up at 2 a.m. overnight and then I just deal with it. What if you could design a system for yourself, for your team, for your church, for your organization? You could design something that was against burnout. Here's something to think about. What if the way we lead, what if the way we construct our ministries, the structure itself, what if the culture we create is actually facilitating burnout for people versus helping them to burn brightly? You say, well, what's the difference? Well, think about it this way. Let me say it differently. Burnout is not just a personal issue, which is typically how we talk about it. It's often shaped by the culture we lead. So think about the ministry you lead. Could be your senior pastor, could be your particularly ministry leader over a very small area or multiple ministry areas, right? Whatever you lead, you're creating a culture. And I know that you agree with this, but building and designing a healthy ministry isn't accidental. It's designed. And the same goes for preventing burnout. You say, well, Jason, can you boil it down to the problem? Here's the problem. Most people, I don't find, I could be wrong, but I don't find this. Most people don't leave ministry because all of a sudden, or even gradually, they just stop caring. I don't find that to be true. I do find that they have cared for so long, so deeply, without the right resources to support them, they burn out. I keep seeing some patterns show up. See if any of these resonate with you. You have this idea, maybe in your ministry, in your church, of hero leadership. Think about that everything depends on a few people. Maybe it's a single staff, it's a few staff, it's a few volunteers. It's kind of like you've got the crew, you've got your group who will do everything. And it's not that you're trying to be the hero, but you're building this culture where all of the burden is on a few to do it all. Think about it this way. When everything depends on a few people, those same people eventually feel the weight of everyone. And that's what I discovered in research around burnout. Emotional exhaustion, carrying too much for too long, not having the right resources, a shrinking capacity, right? Decision fatigue. And so you have this hero leadership, too much on people for too long. Here's another thing I see. Unclear expectations. Let me say it differently. People want to help, but if people don't have clarity on what winning actually looks like, how do they ever know if they're doing it well or not? So what do people do? Well, if I don't know, I'll just do more. I overcommit. I do more. Yes. You get people who say, they tell you yes whenever you ask them anything. Unfortunately, eventually what happens, those people feel like they're falling behind because they have no idea what clarity looks like when they're actually doing it well. So unclear expectations. And finally, there are invisible people. You have the people that show up every week. They volunteer and serve every week. They're faithful. Maybe every other week. Your church may do it a different way, but they serve faithfully. They're always there. And yet, they quietly wonder, does what I do actually matter? So they feel invisible because their impact feels invisible. So you have this hero leadership, you have unclear expectations, and you have these people that feel a bit invisible. And imagine if you combine all of those, ministry is exhausting. It's exhausting. Not because your mission is wrong, but because your culture is unsustainable. If you do those things, your culture is unsustainable. So, if you want to lead for the long haul, got to do something different. You say, well, what should I do differently? Well, I laugh because this story might sound strange. My wife and I, years ago, started watching a television program called Naked and Afraid. Now, some of you are like, oh, I know that show. Others of you just heard me say that show, and you're like, Jason, what kind of TV are you watching, man? I get it. Let me explain. It's fascinating because it's really human behavior. So they take people and they drop them into remote areas, extreme situations. They get to bring one item of their choosing, a knife, a machete, duct tape, a pot, a fire starter, whatever they would like. And so no matter what extreme environment they're in, the jungle, the desert, mountains, you know what they all need? Fire. They all try to build a fire. Why? They build a fire because they realize that fire brings warmth. Fire brings protection maybe from larger animal, or if they're in a particular area where there are a lot of like mosquitoes and gnats, it wards them off. Fire allows them to boil water so they have clean water so they don't get sick. Fire allows them to cook food. Fire allows them to survive. But here's what's interesting if you've ever watched the show. If they don't tend to the fire goes out. And then frustration sets in. Then they're trying to restart something that they should have sustained. You ever been there? You're not tending to kind of that fire that burns inside of you. You remember those days? You got busy doing stuff. You're helping people. And then one day you realize the fire's not burning as brightly as it used to. And then you realize you haven't tended to it. And then you realize it's fading or maybe it's gone. And you're trying to restart it with all of the pressures and the calendars and all of this stuff when you should have sustained it. But the reality is now it's even more difficult because the fire is faded. And what do? Well, you know what some leaders do? They go and they get lighter fluid. If you've ever messed with lighter fluid, you'll know what I'm talking about. When you put lighter fluid on a fire, you get an instant response. It's like this quick burst. You get this energy and this fire, and it's like, wow. I find actually leaders oftentimes will lead like lighter fluid. It's a quick burst of energy, but it's not sustainable. It's a flash, but it can't last. So what do? Well, let me quickly give you 4 ways or 4 ideas that you can tend the fire of ministry. Now, let me clarify something. This is not adding to your to-do list. You already have that. You don't need my help with that. What I'd love for you to consider is, can you take these ideas and weave them in to the rhythm of how you already work and live? So you're not adding anything new, you're integrating into your current rhythm. So, here's one. Don't carry the fire alone. AKA, ministry wasn't built to be a solo sport. And maybe when you started in ministry, that wasn't the way that you thought about it. But over time, well, if it's got to be done right, I got to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. I got to do it. And so we can drift into this idea that ministry is a solo sport. I was talking with a pastor I coach, and we were having this conversation, and I just asked something to the effect of like, hey, talk me through your week. Talk me through your week. Very simple, right? You know what I noticed? Everything in the conversation came back to him. Every decision, every problem, every question. And this is what, and I wrote this down. I asked him this. Is that because he said this statement, I feel like if I step away for one day, everything falls apart. You ever felt like that? So this is what I said to him. I wrote it down so I could get it right. I asked, is that because you're needed or because everything you built depends on you? Because sometimes it's easy to point the finger at the system, and sometimes it's really hard to look in the mirror and realize we're the ones that built the system. You see, there's a difference between being needed and being the bottleneck. And sometimes leaders get stuck there. Maybe you're living in that tension right now. When only a few people carry the fire, listen, there is a high probability that those same people will burn out. That's not the goal, that's just the effect. So, idea number 2, give the fire direction. So we talked about not carrying the fire alone, but give the fire direction. Let me say it in a way that maybe this will resonate with you. Fire without direction doesn't warm a house, but it will burn it down. And so when we think about the fire inside of us, we have to direct it, right? You're like, well, what are we talking about? Well, think about this. For your staff, maybe you say, well, I'm a one-person team. I'm, only one staff member, maybe even bivocational. Maybe you have 2, 10, 100, 1,000. I don't know what it may be for your church setting. But when you think about staff, when you think about volunteers, more times than not, at least that I see, exhaustion and burnout are not related to the load they carry, but it is related to uncertainty and a lack of clarity that they have about what they do, related to the system. So remember, clarity is kind. You say, well, what are some ways that I could be clear? Well, define some wins. I referenced this earlier. What does it look like when we are excellent? We're achieving A, B, and C, right? It's really, really clear. We have a goal. We're going there. What does my role look like? You ever ask somebody, like, what do you do? They're like, yeah, I do stuff. I do this and I do that. Like, could we tighten up the role? Because the more certain the role becomes, the clearer the role becomes, the more we can get after the role, and the more we can say no to things that disrupt and interrupt the role. And then defining priorities. I know this is hard in church world because everything's a priority. That's what people say. But the reality is we have to choose priorities. I know it's challenging. So give the fire direction, right? So it's like, we're going to do this. We're going here. We're not going to focus on this, right? We have some clarity. Third idea, add fuel to the fire. Not lighter fluid for a quick burst, but we're looking for sustainability. One of the simplest ways to do this, and you know this isn't new, this is a reminder. Tell people they matter. And be specific. I often find volunteers staff leave because they feel undervalued. They don't feel seen. They don't feel cared for. They feel like they're a cog in the machine. They're part of your agenda to succeed and do things, but they don't feel human. So value them. I went to a church not long ago, and I like to observe people and volunteer teams and church staff and services, all of that. And so when I was doing that, I started noticing like the staff member wasn't getting people to do the tasks, right? Even though we have to get tasks done. I'm not saying abandon those things, but this particular leader wasn't like giving instructions. But what I noticed this leader doing was walking around talking to people, calling people by name, demonstrating gratefulness and appreciation with very, very intentional specifics. And it was as if this light came on in their world, that this leader, his words mattered. Remember this, your words either put wind in someone's sail or they put holes in someone's boat. And you get to choose. And when we can put wind in their sail, we can keep them going. They can enjoy the journey just a little bit more. Remember, when people feel seen, they stay. Idea number 4, and then last. Protect the fire. What do I mean by that? You can't lead people for the long haul at an unsustainable pace. And I hear leaders say, well, they just need to keep up. Maybe. But maybe the pace is the problem, not the people. And the leader sets the pace, and that might be you. So the people might not be the challenge or the problem. When I was studying burnout in church leaders, I saw this pattern. Burnout wasn't a singular moment. It was this slow accumulation of too much responsibility, not enough resources, too little rest, no clear boundaries. And you know what I discovered? Burnout sounds like it's a personal issue, but when I backed out of kind of looking at it really, really closely, I discovered a lot of times burnout is created because of the culture of the ministry. It's the culture, the things that surround the work we do, the things that, the behaviors, the expectations, or the lack thereof that surround us can directly contribute to burnout. So, what do we do? Well, let me just give you some ideas very quickly. Here's how you can protect the fire. Normalize rest. I have struggled with this for over 25 years because I was raised to think that rest is a reward, and it's not. Normalizing rest should be celebrated. What I find healthy ministries do is they celebrate rest. They normalize rest. Another way you can protect the fire, share responsibility. If everything depends on just a small group of people, on just the same people over and over, they don't last. They lose steam. The fire goes out. They leave your church. You leave your church. You grow resentful. And a final way to protect the fire is build leaders, don't just fill roles. Sustainable ministries, they're not just trying to get more volunteers. They're developing people and building leaders because we're thinking long haul, not just a short run. The culture of your ministry will rarely drift healthier than the leader leading it. So if the ministry is unhealthy, there is a chance that you, the leader, might be too. But you don't have to stay there. That's the beauty about this whole thing. You don't have to stay in a place that is full of exhaustion and discouragement and despair and a lack of energy. And you don't even want to do this anymore. You're tired of seeing the same people. You don't care like you used to. Vision's gone. You're just trying to get up every day, put a smile on your face, and show up because, well, that's what people expect you to do. But what if there was a better way? Years ago, I was visiting a church, and I don't know how to quite describe it. There was something different about this church. Have you ever been to a place and you just can feel it? It's like the vibe. You look at the faces of people, the energy in the room. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, I wish I could write it down and say it like I felt it. It didn't feel like people were rushed. You know, church is over and it's like, we're out of here, right? People ever do that at your church? We're gone. It's like people can't get out of the parking lot fast enough. Churches have asked me, like, how do we get more people to stay? And that's what I noticed at this church. People stayed. They weren't rushed. I didn't look at volunteers and think, you look drained. You look like somebody dragged you here. It was just different. So I met a volunteer at this church, and I asked her, hey, how long have you been a volunteer here? How long have you been serving here? She's like, 15 years. She goes, I've been in the same ministry, the same team. I'm like, what? How? This is what she said to me. She smiled and said these words, because this place changed my life. This isn't just where I serve. This is where I belong. And I don't know about you, but I can imagine if you're watching right now, if you're listening right now, you want to build that kind of ministry. Maybe you have it. Maybe you want to have it. Maybe you used to have it, but for some reason, it's just different now. But you don't have to stay there. You can revisit. You can recapture that fire. Is it going to take some work and some time? Yes. I wish I could wave a magic wand and it just happened. But it doesn't work like that. You know that. I wish, but it doesn't. And so we have to do some hard work. So if you want to lead for the long haul, let's not focus on avoiding burnout. Let's actually build ministries where people want to stay. So before we wrap up, let's come back to what this really looks like. Let me read something to you. Some leaders burn hot, but they burn alone, carrying expectations that were never meant for one person. And slowly the fire fades. Not because the mission isn't worthy, but because the weight became too heavy. But the church was never meant to be a place where leaders and volunteers burn out. That's not part of its design. It was meant to be a place where people burn bright together, where leaders don't carry the mission alone, where volunteers aren't just helpers, but partners, where encouragement flows freely, where clarity replaces confusion, where rest is honored. Healthy churches don't just reach people. They sustain the people reaching them. So if we want to lead for the long haul, we don't just try harder. We tend the fire together. And when we do, the flame spreads from leader to team to volunteer to church to community until the light grows brighter and brighter and brighter. And the church becomes what it was always meant to be, a place where people do not burn out. They burn bright. Remember, burnout is personal, but it's also culture. So leader, I invite you to build a ministry that people do not want to leave. Let's pray. Father, what I believe deep down inside of me is that every person watching or listening right now wants to get it right. But what do? Where do they start? It's overwhelming at times. And my prayer is that the summit, that the words from breakouts and keynotes, maybe what people share in the chat, that a community of people could gather together. And then the person watching, listening right now would say, you know what? I thought I was alone, but I'm not. I don't have to do this alone. And I pray that you would encourage them, that there would be somebody in their life that could put wind in their sail. And that, Father, you could stir up that fire within them once again. And that they could build a ministry. When people come, they want to stay. They don't want to leave. And that they could share that ministry and build that ministry together. That's how you design the church to be. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Jason, this was so powerful. So many practical tips I feel like we can pull out of this. This is so good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was so encouraging to hear. I would love in these last few moments if we could maybe just spend a couple of moments just talking through some of the questions that kind of popped up as we went through this.
Yeah,
Would
let's
that
do
be
it.
Okay?
Yeah, let's do it, Kendall.
Awesome. You spoke to volunteers, you spoke to teams and things like that. What would you say what would you say to that leader that's leading these people, that they, how important is it for them to pour into others and make sure that not only is a leader not burning out and not getting tired in this thing, but to pour into them? How important is that?
Yeah, so when you think about burnout, we often talk about it as like a personal thing.
Yeah.
And really, for me, that is true. And what I discovered in the research is burnout is often a result of the culture that's created, the systems we build, right? Or the lack thereof. One of those pieces, volunteers. And what's so tempting, and I hear this all the time, we just need more of them. We need more volunteers.
Bring them on.
You're breathing and alive, you'll do.
Yes.
Right?
So
and it's like, I just get you on the team so I can move to the next thing. And it's like, okay, let's back up. Like, who do we really need? What are we really asking them to do? Like, do we have, going back to clarity, right?
Yes.
And so I wrote this book years ago called The Volunteer Effect. And the idea is, how do you affect a volunteer enough that they want to come back over and over and over again and invite someone to join the team? Remember this, you the staff person. It is not your primary responsibility to add all the volunteers to your team. It is your primary responsibility to build a culture that attracts new volunteers.
That's right.
And it's difficult to do both at the same time. So I would say, focus on investing in volunteers, be really clear, and last thing I'll say is this. How the volunteer starts on the team gives them an indicator of what it's going to be like to remain on the team.
Yes.
And they're already deciding whether to stay on the team based on how they start.
Yeah.
So how you start them is absolutely critical. That influences whether they stay or not.
I know that there's going to be people at home that want to hear more from you. You probably have some resources that you would be able to share. Can you tell us anything about those, anything that might help them to continue this conversation?
Yeah, probably the most relevant would be, so if you want to visit don'tburnoutburnbright.com, yes, there's a book there, but more importantly, even if you don't buy the book, there's a free assessment there.
Okay.
Cool.
And it just gets you started of like, where might I be kind of teetering on?
Sure.
And then it will connect you, with how the book can be helpful to you.
That's great.
I would say that. And then the second would be the book I mentioned earlier, The Volunteer Effect. So burnout, but I talked about teams too, and that's what the volunteer effect does, is how do we build healthy teams? How do we prevent burnout? How do we design against it so that we can thrive, we can flourish.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I keep thinking throughout this entire conversation, and the whole event really is moving people from just surviving to truly thriving in ministry. And I got that from your heart and from your talk today. And so thank you so much for sharing with us. It really means a lot, and so many practical principles that we can take from this and inspiration. So we're just grateful. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you, Kendall.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This has been really fun. And again, for all of our guests or all of our viewers online today, give it up in the chat for Dr. Jason Young. We're so grateful that he was able to share with us today.
What an awesome conversation.
Yes.
Okay, so we are going to do another poll. We want to hear from you again, and this one's kind of important. So the question is, which areas of ministry would benefit most from better systems and technology right now at your ministry?
That's right.
So you can select multiple on this one.
So it should pop up right there on the side of your screen. Again, if it doesn't, you'll see it right there, poll on the side.
That's right. Thank you so much for taking time to answer that poll. It's always so helpful to hear what areas leaders are wanting to focus on right now, because every church is honestly in a different season and every ministry team has different needs.
Yes, it's very true. And I mean, as you look at that list, maybe there's one area that stands out for you right now, something that you're trying to strengthen. Maybe it's something that you're praying through, or something that just feels heavier in this season. But there is good news.
Yep, that you don't have to navigate those challenges alone. One of the things we care deeply about at Ministry Brands is equipping church leaders with real support, practical tools, and helpful resources for wherever ministry finds you.
So one of the biggest ways that we get to do that is something that I love, and that is a free resource that's called the Healthy Church Hub. You've heard of the Healthy Church Summit. This is the Healthy Church Hub. Think of this as your one-stop place for church growth.
That's right. The Healthy Church Hub exists to empower church leaders with resources like blog posts, webinar, ebooks, and my personal favorite, our very own podcast,
Yes,
the Church
absolutely.
Leadership Lab, that Kendall and I actually get to host together.
We have a lot of fun with that podcast. Yeah,
That's
if
right.
you haven't checked it out, we'd love for you to come over there and listen to us sometime. And another part of the Healthy Church Hub that we're really excited to share with you today is our brand new Ministry Brands Academy. I'm so excited about this.
Yes,
this
me
is
too.
a free resource. It's full of practical, on-demand, so anytime that works for you, on-demand training that's designed to help church leaders to lead well, to steward faithfully, and to really grow these thriving ministries.
Yeah, this is long overdue. I'm so excited about
Yes.
this academy. It's going to be really life-giving to our
Yes.
church leaders. So in addition to the academy and all the other resources, one of the resources that we have in there is ebooks. And we have some really impactful, actionable ebooks. Our most recent release is the 2026 Annual Church Giving Report. We obviously know that giving is honestly critical for the life of a church.
Important to every church.
Exactly. It's important to every church, regardless of your size. So this ebook is a compilation of survey data that we've collected from churches, not even just us. We're in partnership with an organization called Parable Group. This is all that they do.
They're amazing.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
And so they've taken information from churches across the country of all different sizes to help you understand what is working in giving and what you should adjust in 2026 to get the most out of the generosity culture at your church.
And we're going to be sending links for all of these things in a follow-up email after this event. So you're going to get all of these things sent to you.
All right, before we jump into our last set of breakout sessions, we want to take a few minutes for a very special interview.
That's right. We get to welcome one of our own, Kira Brown. Kira is a part of our Ministry Brands team, working over on the product team, and she has such a genuine heart for churches. If you haven't connected with her before, I want to tell you all about her. Kira Brown is a senior product leader at Ministry Brands, bringing over 20 years of experience in the church management software, or for those that are in the know, CHMS space. She also serves as a children's director at her local church, which means that she's able to really keep us closely connected with the real world ministry leaders and their needs, and serving with volunteers and all of those different things. She has a lot of hands-on experience that really grounds all of her leadership and product perspective in the everyday realities of church life. I can't wait for you to hear from her. It's going to be awesome.
Kira's also become one of our good friends.
Yes.
And we're just really excited to hear from her today. She's an important part of this team. And also, spoiler alert, she might be showing off some new technology that we're super excited about today.
You know I'm excited about this.
Oh, yes.
I love the technology. So without further ado, let's jump into this conversation and welcome Kira Brown. Kira, thank you so much for being here with us and talking with us today.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here to do this with you guys.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and I always love being able to, hear from folks on our own team and hear the heart from Ministry Brands and things like that.
Absolutely.
It's awesome.
So before we get started, though, something that has really been on my heart as I've been processing and planning for all of this is ministry and the complexity around ministry. So I'd like to hear from you guys in the audience. How many of you feel like ministry is just more complex over the last couple of years? Can I get an amen?
Yes.
Got to put amen in the chat
So
for that.
in the chat, yes, give us an amen. But even better than that, give us a few examples of ways that you feel like ministry has just become complex, because at the end of the day, that's why we're here, right? That's why we're here today, to talk about that complexity and that burden and leading for the long haul, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
That's really good. And I think that is so true. And I'm sure there's plenty of amens in the chat right now.
I hope so.
Well, I'm just kind of curious, for those who may not be so familiar with you, we shared the bio, but can you share a little bit about your role here at Ministry Brands, and why is serving churches so important to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I lead a product team here at Ministry Brands, which basically means I get to be a part of the everyday ability to shape the tools that you guys are using to do ministry with. But honestly, it's not about the title for me. It's not about the job. It's about ministry, because as Kendall said, I serve the church. I am serving alongside of each and every one of you every single week in children's ministry. So I understand, right? I understand that burden that people carry. So for me, it's not about the software, although it is. It's not about the job, but it's personal for me. It's about the kingdom. It's about creating tools and software that help you guys do ministry effectively.
That's right.
So good.
Yeah.
So from your perspective, what is Ministry Brands really all about at its core?
At our core, Ministry Brands, we have one purpose, and that's to help you guys do ministry effectively.
Yeah.
We're not just a software company. We are partners. So we're partners with you individually. We're partners with your ministry, with your church. And everything is kind of built around that central idea. We want to remove the friction. We want to remove that burden and focus on allowing you guys to focus on people, not process.
That's right.
So it shows up in a lot of ways across our organization, but it always comes back to one thing: the heart for the ministry and what the ministry means to each of us and to you guys.
That's a really great way to put it. I love that you said people over process, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really good. Well, I know that, we work with so many churches and you see so many different stories, hear so many different stories. What are some of the biggest challenges that you would say leaders are facing right now, and maybe how technology can help, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one theme is very consistent across the messages that we hear. And that is that everyone is expected to do more.
Yeah.
Everyone is expected to do more with less.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So that's less staff, that's less resources, that's less time, it's less of everything, but more expectation. So I think we could all agree that in today's society, everything is hustle.
Yeah.
Everything is right now. Everything is yesterday.
Yes.
With less, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, the tension there, though, is that technology should help and not hinder. So we at Ministry Brands are very, very focused on making sure that we're simplifying things and not making things more complicated.
Sure.
That's right. That's right. Can you give us a snapshot of what tools Ministry Brands offers?
Absolutely. So at Ministry Brands, we serve every part of the ministry, as many as I can think of, right? So from giving to accounting, your websites, your streaming, all the way to your church management system, right?
Yep.
So for us, that's Amplify, our Amplify ecosystem. It combines all of that into one easy-to-use tool.
That's right.
That allows people to do ministry because things flow together, right?
Right.
So even things like bill pay or back office automation, we have wonderful partners in Avid Exchange,
That's
things
right.
like that, that help us to pull that flow together, right? So what we're really looking for is that end-to-end experience, that one-stop shop, right? You don't want 10 disconnected tools having to log into this system or this system or this system, right? You want them to all work together. So we know that not every ministry is using 10 tools. Some ministries are using more than 10 tools.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we've put together what I think is quite a wonderful set of packages for churches.
Okay. Tell us about that a little bit.
Okay, so every single one of the packages contains a baseline of the most common things that churches need, right?
Okay.
And then as those needs progress, as the churches grow, or your needs might be different, you can pick from the different packages that we have.
That's right.
From the baseline to the most complex, we offer it all.
That's right. That's right. And so we've got things like specific digital needs that your church might need. If it's websites or streaming, those things are kind of put together. And then if you've got additional needs with like finances, right?
Exactly.
That's
Or
another big
payroll.
piece, or payroll, right?
Yeah.
Those financial pieces, those are kind of put together in a package. So to your point, that's going to fit just about every church. And then we understand too that there's some flexibility there too with the size of your church. It may not, our software can support both tiny little churches all the way up to mega churches, but you can kind of tailor even that to your own church.
Yes, and it's gonna provide those varying needs, whether
Right.
you're trying to do ministry on the go, whether you're trying to accomplish new things, like
Yeah.
maybe you've never had that payroll system
True.
before, or
Yeah.
maybe you've not adopted a financial solution,
Right,
right?
Yeah.
It grows with you.
That's right. That's right.
It's amazing to me that you can come in at whatever level your current need is, but you can also grow. And I love that we have the different bundles or packages or however you want to say it. Like you can choose the exact thing that's going to be right for you and your ministry
That's
in
right.
that season. And then there's just the part of me I was like, I want. There's somebody out there. They're saying, I just want it all. Give me the main. Give me the biggest bundle that you have, right?
Yes.
And so I love that we have so many different tools that span so many different areas of the church. And I know that there's going to be people who are watching today that they are already our current customers. They're already using all of the great software that we're using, or maybe one or two of the different tools. And then there's also new people that are out there. What would you say to encourage all of our people who are maybe out there already using, to maybe give them a quick shout out? And then what would you say to anyone who's new, who's looking into this?
So if you're a current customer of ours, thank you, right? Thank you. Because
We love you, right?
we love
love
you.
you.
We exist because of you.
Yeah.
We wake up every morning to serve you guys.
Yeah.
If you're looking for the next solution or what might best fit your church,
Yeah.
we would love to have you here at Ministry Brands and to serve you every day.
So today, I think you actually have something new that you want to tell us about. Is that right?
Yes, I'm so excited about it. So Amplify Equip is our new, and we're so excited to bring it to you guys today. So it is a very ministry-focused, ministry-built solution. It's designed to support the entire sermon journey.
Yeah.
And before you get too hesitant, let me tell you what that means, okay? So it's going to help you all the way from preparation to invitation to execution and beyond, okay?
Yeah.
So let's think about those things. Instead of you writing your sermon and then going 5 different places to create content and communicate and get the word out,
Yes.
Equip does it all, right? You can outline your sermons, your thoughts, you can access your scripture, and then you can take that sermon
Yeah.
and then you
Wow.
can create things like social clips, devotions, study guides.
Yeah.
Guess what else? Translated content into different
that's
languages,
huge.
Wow.
which is so huge.
Yeah,
so
that's cool.
you can do it all in one place, and we're so excited about it.
That's awesome.
So this is a brand new tool that's going to be coming available soon. I'm really excited about this. This is exciting stuff.
Yes.
This meets a huge need for, like you said, at the very beginning, the demand on what is required, what is expected has gotten so big. And I think ministry leaders their favorite thing in the whole wide world is not social media or whatever else. So this is awesome.
It is, and we're hearing in a large part of conversations that we have with churches that there's this growing pressure to not only just preach the message, but engage and create that content all week long.
Right.
And let's be real that most pastors didn't sign up to do that all
Right.
week long, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's very burdensome sometimes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Equip removes that burden and it allows them to maintain their voice
Yeah.
without all of the added stress of how am I going to get this social media clip out? How am I going to get this content
Yes.
shared? How am I going to invite my people to Sunday, right? What does
Right.
that look like?
Right.
So it helps you use what God has given you and multiply it.
That's
I
great.
love that, and I love
Exciting.
that it keeps it people focused, right? I think that's something that's really cool about this tool.
Exactly.
That's great.
And I can stand here and talk about it all day, but it's honestly easier just to show you guys than explain it. So let's take a quick look.
Yeah, let's check out this video.
Every week, you stand up and deliver something no algorithm can generate. A message crafted for your people, grounded in scripture, shaped by your voice. But once Sunday's over, what happens to that message? Introducing Amplify Equip, the AI-powered creative platform built for ministry. Start with what you already have, your sermon, upload it, and watch your message multiply. Social posts for the week, an email newsletter for your congregation, a small group discussion guide, custom graphics, all created from your own words and interpretation of the Word. And when you're preparing your next sermon, Amplify Equip is right there with you, with a powerful word processing editor, built-in Bible versions, research resources, and a helpful assistant. Share content with your team, assign it, review it, track it from draft to published, with comments, roles, and due dates built right in. With tools for every ministry area, from kids to worship to communications, your team creates from one platform. This isn't AI borrowed from business. Every tool is built for ministry, grounded in the Word, and faithful to your voice. Amplify Equip. Your sermon is the starting line. Let your message reach further than you ever imagined.
Wow, I mean, that was pretty amazing. I love seeing that.
Yes.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot. It can do a lot.
A lot. And
Yeah.
that's just a glimpse
Oh my gosh.
into the capabilities.
It looks like maybe there's some intelligence involved on there. And
There
so,
is.
like, I know that AI tools are becoming more popular these
That's right.
days. How is this different than other AI tools that maybe pastors or ministry leaders have used before?
That's such a good question. So a lot of people are using AI tools. Sometimes, in conversations that we're having with churches, they're using multiple AI tools
Right.
to accomplish ministry today.
Yeah.
So we're really leaning into that. But the difference is those tools that they're using weren't built for ministry. So
That's right.
Equip
Yep.
is built for ministry,
Right.
right? AI doesn't understand sermon structure. It doesn't understand how pastors think. It doesn't have theological guardrails around
Right,
things.
right.
So Equip is specifically built for that. It's specifically tailored to the sermon workflow. It
good.
supports that collaboration. And most importantly, it keeps the pastor in control of the message.
Right.
So it doesn't replace the voice of the church, of the pastor, of the leader,
Right.
but it does reinforce it. So Equip is very unique in that way.
All right, well, look, I know that people at home, they're going to want to find out more about this and get plugged in. What is the best next step for them to find out more?
Well, we would love for you guys to schedule a demo. Someone from our team would be more than happy to walk you through Amplify Equip from end to end, let you see
Yeah.
all the things, experience it, get you excited about it. So we're going to unpack this a little bit in the
Okay.
upcoming breakout session, which
Yeah.
I'm also super excited about. So you guys plan to join me in my breakout session coming up.
That's going to be awesome. And that's happening in just a couple of minutes. And so if you're interested in hearing more about that, definitely stick around, and you'll have to choose to go to the one, Kira's breakout that's going to start in just a couple moments. So that's going to be really good. Kira, thank you. This
Thank
has been
you
amazing.
so
Thanks
much.
for
Yes.
showing all of
So
this.
glad you're here.
Yes,
That's so
thank
awesome.
you so much.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
friend.
much. Well, listen, y'all, as we said, we're about to kick off this next session of breakouts. I'm excited for this, Jess.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I hope you enjoyed your first set of breakout sessions. Now we've got 4 additional great options for you to choose from.
So, to give you a quick snapshot of the breakouts that we have coming up right now, we have one with Laura Howe. She's been on our podcast before. She's going to be talking about how you can prioritize mental health in ministry. Then we're also going to have Nicole Lucas, who's going to be showing us how you can lead healthy staff and volunteer teams with clarity. And then if you're interested in maybe learning about some stewardship elements or accounting and making sure that all of your giving is taken care of in your church well, Wes Herms and Jonathan Howell, they're going to be leading a great breakout on that. And then finally, as we just said, Kira is going to be telling us all about how you can use AI to really amplify your impact. And I love this part of the title, without losing the human touch. That's going to be so good.
Super good, yes.
So after our breakouts, this is our final round of breakouts, you'll come back to our final closing session that we're going to have right here on stage, and then we're going to have some giveaways, some free resources, and we even have a surprise free resource that we haven't talked about yet that you do not want to miss. We'll see you back here soon.
See you soon.